Greetings folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today we are going to be playing with some good old-fashioned smokestacks. Our deck list comes from an anonymous donor this time around. I've made some small updates, but kind of first I want to talk about this deck a little bit. So in Legacy days long since past, you used to be able to really lock opponents out of the game with Smokestack. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may, and the may is really important with this card, put a soot counter on this card. And at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a permanent for each soot counter on Smokestack. So the idea was that you would play Smokestack alongside a whole bunch of lands and Crucible of Worlds. And you would replay your land every turn, and then your opponent would just kind of like fall into the abyss, and you would get to stay at permanent parity, whereas your opponent continuously fell behind. And if things get real weird and tough, you can just keep putting counters on smokestacks and just like really obliterate the permanents, eventually sacking the smokestack, that's a tongue twister, to itself in order to kind of end the process on your side of the battlefield. So these smokestack decks tend to have a lot of lands, and they tend to have some big mana payoff stuff as well. Generally speaking, I don't think this strategy is super viable in Legacy anymore. The individual cards that Legacy has seen printed in the past maybe 3 to 5 years are just so strong that using a card on a temporary effect like a Tangle Wire, or an effect that takes a turn to get going like a Smokestack, really just often doesn't cut it anymore. So I don't think the strategy itself is super viable, but I'm going to see what I can do with it. So the donor's deck essentially is, I don't know, maybe 65 of the 75 that you're seeing here. And one of the things that they really valued was a 15 card wish board for Karn. So we're going to have a little bit of everything here. A lot of times these wish boards instead have like a wish board and then a set of ley lines to respect the graveyard matchups. We're not really doing that here. We just have so many tools for the right jobs, and storing a smokestack in the sideboard means that we have 6 effective copies of it. And we also just do have the, absolute ways to just cheese games via Karn that we're used to seeing, like Liquid Metal Coating to just destroy our opponent's lands, and Mycosynth Lattice to completely lock opponents out of the game. As far as the wish board goes, there's a couple of odd ones here, so I'm going to point out a few of those. Witchbane Orb destroys all curses attached to you, rip Reapel Cheap, and gives you hexproof. And then Forsaken Monument makes your colorless creatures larger. It gives you life when you whenever you cast a colorless spell, it gives you 2 life, and whenever you tap a permanent for colorless mana, you get an additional colorless mana. So we have some of the Cloud Post type lands that get better as you control more Loki, depending on how you're pluralizing that, I guess. We have some mana denial lands like Wasteland and Rishadan as well, and we have some additional taxation effects, such as the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, rip creature decks. The original version had like 1 Urza's Saga. I bumped those numbers a little bit up. Urza Saga is really good. I want to find one just about every game. And it's very possible like Urza Saga is just like the best thing that's going on in this deck, so I should be playing 4 of them. But I figure I don't want too many disappearing lands, because I'm already going to be killing some of my own lands by like Wastelanding and Ghost Quartering and using Smokestack. So here's to hoping that between like Sphere of Resistances, Lodestone Golems, Tangle Wires, Chalices, Smokestacks, and Karn, that we can actually lock some people out of the game. I'm not super optimistic, but I would really like to get some W's on the board with this deck. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for regular sweet deck lists and content across many formats. And if you're a regular, throw me a like before we get started. It's one of the easiest ways to support my content for free. If you want to try this one out and muck around with it yourself, that information is available in the video description, as is my donation information if you got something spicy you want to see on the channel. Let's battle. Oh baby, this hand has so much mana. It's also going to hurt me badly, so let's hope my opponent isn't playing something like Burn. Oh, it's oops. It's oops. It's oops. Yep, okay. So we lose game 1 probably? Yeah. That's not great. Okay, yeah, here's the spirit guide. And then my opponent is going to go and just like mill their entire library. I'm going to just let this go for a second in case you've never seen this before. So the way this works is that my opponent is now going to cast a Dread Return and use that to put a Thassa's Oracle in play. The Cabal Therapy makes it so that they can go and disrupt me first before going and doing this. I'm just going to find the Dread Return real quick. There it is. So I will go ahead and concede. GG's, well played. Okay. Basically, can I get a Sphere of Resistance or equivalent into play is like going to be the name of this game. So I will probably board in any relevant card here. I guess Torpor Orb is fine too. Winter Orb's probably not great. Yeah, let's try to board in 4 cards here. Welding Jar is probably not needed in game 2. I might consider it in game 3. I don't think I really need Smokestack. I think I will just like win by playing a couple of just generic cards that lock down my opponent and slow them down. Get rid of a Tangle Wire and call it good. This is going to be like turbo speed round though. Absolutely. My opponent's in a tricky situation. They've mulled to 5 and they don't know what I'm playing, so they probably don't have like proper sideboard answers for something like a sphere here. So here's to hoping that I just kind of like shut my opponent down. Oh, just stone cold nothing here. That's great for me. I'll play a lodestone golem in the not too distant future, and that probably permanently locks my opponent out. I'm just going to double check. I believe it is Undercity Informer that has the activated ability. Yes, it is Undercity Informer. Then Bluestride Spy is the 4-drop. This is worth 2 life for me. Undercity Informer. Alright, great. And then I will have the option to decide whether or not I want to like kill my opponent via Urza Saga tokens or what. Okay. I'm not getting Lodestone Golem into play this turn because like that costs 1 more. I guess I will play Urza's like another Urza Saga. Pass the turn. I'll make a large construct. I'll make another large construct, and then I'll sit on like a Tormod's Crypt as well. That should pretty much do my opponent in, I think. Yeah, they just straight up don't have lands here. I'm good with where I'm at. I'll take my 3/3, which is soon to be larger. Okay. I could play a Crystalline Giant. I think it is just going to be better to do this, though. Make my critter. And then I'll go ahead and search. Grab a Tormod's Crypt. Don't want to play Tabernacle right now. And honestly, I should probably just have boarded that out for literally any artifact. My opponent takes, what, 12 next turn? So they're not, like, technically dead, but pretty close. Okay. Just play another sphere. I think just playing another sphere is better than making another Urza Saga construct token. Let's just float my mana. Don't have another target. That's fine. Second sphere. Hit my opponent for 12. Pretty good. The issue is the game where I'm on the play, because all my stuff happens at sorcery speed here. So let's go ahead and just finish off this one. And then I'll make some small sideboard adjustments. And by that, I mean I board out Tabernacle for some other random card. I guess just a threat is fine, just like play a Crystalline Giant. Again, the game where I am on the draw is very scary because my opponent just turn 1s me. I have literally nothing in my deck that can do something about that. 61? Interesting. I mean, I'm going to keep this hand. This hand's very good. It has a turn 1 Sphere. It has a turn 3 Lodestone Golem. It has a turn 2 Pithing Needle to bridge the gap. Opponent is also mulliganing into Oblivion. Okay, yeah, opponent kept on 4 cards. Doing a quick check to make sure they didn't do something funky, like put me on the play there. Alright. Ancient Tomb into Sphere. Opponent didn't play any lands. Opponent still didn't play any lands. Nice. Let's get some post-action going on. And again, I'm just going to value playing hate pieces over anything else here. So let's name Undercity Informer. And shut off that my opponent has. And I imagine playing Lodestone Golem into Lodestone Golem is just GG. Just absolutely unbeatable. Yep. Hello, friend. Yeah. If opponent can cast some sort of Destroy All Artifacts spell off entirely Spirit Guide mana, they earned it, you know? They absolutely earned it. So, make another friend. Attack my opponent to 15. And they're on a 2-turn clock. I attack for 10, then they die. And if they just play a land, I'll Rashad Port it, so they can't, yeah. Stax on the board. Alright, I have kept my round 2 opening hand here. I have a sphere into a sphere. And if that works, it's super awesome. I'm super dead to a wasteland, or like a turn 1 Ragavan. Exploration. Well, my opponent does not give a shit about my sphere of resistances then. Alright. Life from the Loam also is problematic when you're trying to play the Stax deck. Tundra into Ponder? Interesting. So we actually might be playing against like an Uro deck rather than just like straight lands. That's cool. I think Sphere of Resistance is back on the table, but I'm fucking terrified of Wasteland. Like, holy shit, am I terrified of Wasteland. But like my hand kind of plays out one way. Like I've got one thing that I can do with this hand. Oh. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what exactly is going on the other side of the battlefield here. Like, I thought it was gonna be Uro land. Oh, fuck me. But Daze is not like super common there. Yeah, we'll see. Fuck. I think I have to just straight up concede. Like, I think I am literally in a 0% chance to win this game situation. I want to see more of my opponent's deck. Accordingly, I'm going to continue to play this game. I don't super know what to expect. Oh, yeah, okay. Just pile of good cards over there? Why are we playing an Urza Saga pre-Ponder? Like, just in terms of sequencing, like, there's a lot of lines. Well, I don't know. I guess they have multiple land drops, so, like, they probably don't give a shit. Okay, yeah. Yeah. This is a lot. But now I know that my opponent's win condition is Urza Saga. I think I'm ready to concede it. Because if I have to discard a card here in order to like keep seeing what my opponent is doing, and they're probably just as confused as I am. I don't know how much I want to sideboard here. Tabernacle's weird. It like maybe hurts me more than them, but like they're gonna have a Urza Saga Concert. They're gonna have a billion lands. Now I probably want to board this out. Let's like repile this into something that's a little easier to digest. So Pithing Needle is probably good. I can probably board in one of Pithing Needle or Sorcerer's Spyglass. I think I'll board in the Spyglass. I also could just like straight up board in Winter Orb. I also could straight up just board in Crystalline Giant and have another threat that can attempt to end the game. I think that's fine. I also could just like board in one of my 2 Pithing Needle effects pretty reasonably. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go down 1 Tangle Wire, and that puts a Tangle Wire into the board that I can wish for anyway. Okay. Yeah, this is reasonable. This plays Cloud Post into Glimmer Post, and then I can do something cool on turn 2 in one way or another. It probably is just a Chalice of the Void, and then I play out some Grim Monoliths later and hopefully use those to play something big and dumb. Okay, my opponent took 1 mulligan and then just passed the turn. Or not passed the turn, then like kept their hand. I play a land and pass the turn. That's what I was trying to get at. Ooh, another Cloud Post. Yes. Let's play a Cloud Post. That means this taps for 2 mana. I'm going to use one of these to cast a Grim Monolith, and I'm going to see if this Grim Monolith gets dazed. Oh, it gets Spell Pierced. I'm not paying for that, no. Okay, so now in future turns, I can play this Chalice of the Void around just about all the soft permission very easily. Okay, I also just have a Crucible of Worlds. That's just straight up something that's in my hand. So Glimmer Post, yield to that, 2 mana, Grim Monolith. That resolved. My opponent was thinking about it. I want to play Chalice this turn. Do a Chalice for X equals 1. And this cuts off further cantrips, spell pierces, explorations. Ah, it is a force effect. Okay, that's fine. So next turn, I'll probably play Ancient Tomb, and then play Crucible around a Pierce effect. It's weird because if I do that, I don't generate the most possible value out of my Crucible, in that I don't get a card out of it immediately. I guess that matters less if I have a Welding Jar. Yeah, alright. Let's play Welding Jar into Crucible. I probably wouldn't play this conservatively if not for like the dazes and the spell pierces that I've already seen. Okay, sure. I don't really have anything real going on yet. I do have the potential to play like a recursive Blast Zone though, so like that's a thing. I'll regenerate it. Fuck. Okay. Yep. Did not get value out of my 3-drop, which is rough. Yep. I'm just gonna play lazy here. Do this in F6. I wouldn't use a Welding Jar to save a Grim Monolith. They want it, they can have it. Okay, Life from the Loam, getting Flooded Strand and Wasteland. That's a disaster. I get Wastelanded every turn forever. Unless... I mean, yeah. Don't exactly love it, but it does absolutely mess with my opponent. Let's see if this buys me enough time to find a threat. If it doesn't, this game's over very quickly. Like, it does not take my opponent long to bust out of a Tangle Wire. Alright, so you stack these so that the fading happens first, and this number goes down, and then you tap some of your stuff. I'm going to assume that I don't need this Welding Jar this turn, and let's maybe tap the Ancient Tomb, just to not take that damage. Alright. It's not what we're looking for. So my opponent taps down 3, but they can make a land drop and then play like Life from the Loam and just like kind of ignore this whole Tangle Wire situation. And I'm just a couple turns away from like this just not being a relevant card anymore anyway. I also don't know when I'm supposed to start ticking up Blast Zone. And my opponent did Dredge, by the way. Like, I have a Rose to worry about, but I also have things like Exploration to worry about as well. Drop. Okay, so Wasteland, Flooded Strand, Trop. Yep. I'm just going to leave this where it's at. Let's let the fading resolve. Have the Tangle Wire itself and maybe a Welding Jar. Alright, so good news is I'm not dead yet. Bad news is my opponent is playing Magic and has cards in hand. I am not, and I don't. Yeah, take out my Blast Zone, I presume. It's my most useful land very easily. Really? The Ancient Tomb? I mean, sure. Okay, yep. I'm supposed to be the one destroying the lands. That's how this is supposed to work. I'll tap my Tangle Wire again. Okay. Yeah, so my opponent is the one with land recursion here, and I don't. So I think I cannot play this Smokestack and win the game. So I am just going to pass the turn here, unfortunately. I will probably just concede once my opponent has a threat. I'm pretty far away from winning this game. My opponent has, like, Wasteland Recursion lock on me. Very few outs to that. I have a Sorcerer Spyglass in the main deck and Karn for Pithing Needle. Yeah. All right. Note that exile, so I can't get rid of it with Welding Jar. Now do I lose my Blast Zone? Yeah, now I lose the Blast Zone. Sure, sure, sure. All right. I remove the fading counter. I think we've, well, I'm not really dead, I guess. It's not fun, but I'm not dead. I guess I like there's draws where I theoretically do still swing this around. But like Urza Saga isn't really live because of Wasteland. Yeah, yep, yeah, do your loam thing. Sooner or later my opponent is just gonna like dredge over an Uro or an Urza Saga, and that just beats me. Yep, okay. So now I can't remove a fading counter, so I sacrifice a Tangle Wire here. Um I think this is the point where I am comfortable just conceding the game. Like my opponent has recursive constructs, my opponent has recursive wasteland. I don't have anything going on. Some of my cards that are my win conditions aren't going to work here. We're good. Let's move on. All right. My opponent has revealed a Yorion. If we're playing against Death and Taxes, we're gonna get fucking brutalized, and it's not gonna be close. I need to mulligan this hand. It doesn't have enough mana. This hand can attempt to get an early Karn and just wreck our opponent. This will be fine. I think my opponent's strategy is just going to be good against my own strategy. Um, they just have so many ways to interact with both lands and permanents, and they have like a very good long game, and a lot of basic lands. Oh, never mind. Yeah, we might be okay then. Karn? Or do I wait a turn? I think I'm gonna Karn now in hopes of grabbing a liquid metal coating and blowing up my opponent's lands. Icorian deck. That decreases your chances of having Force of Will. I love it. 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 Quick check to see if there's anything that I want more. No, I just want the liquid metal coating. I will play it. I will attempt to sinkhole my opponent into oblivion. Yep, yep, yep. That's fine. Okay, that's not a prismatic ending land. A scavenging ooze. I have multiple Karns. I think I'm good with this situation. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and play this. I'm going to attack my opponent's green mana so they can't easily just grow their scavenging ooze. I'll plus and blow that up. And honestly, I think I play Cloud Post, even though it like blows up this land, because then I play Glimmer Post and I'm at 4 mana, and I can continue to make land drops and from there and work towards a Mycosynth Lattice turn. Maybe I don't need to. Maybe I can just like play around my opponent's wasteland. Yeah, I don't mind Karn getting poked here. It costs my opponent a few lands along the way. Oh, just the opponent is not fucking around with this, huh? Great. I did not see that many cards, but I should kind of expect that they're on maybe Bant or 4-color, just Yorion control deck, maybe with a Grain Sun package since I saw a Scavenging Ooze. I'm not sure how much I actually want to sideboard. I have to decide whether or not I want that Tabernacle. That's kind of the big one. I think I'll keep it. My opponent has Field of the Dead. If my opponent has Life from the Loam, do I want another Crucible? I don't know how good these Tangle Wires are going to be on the draw. Play a Crucible, play a Crystalline Giant, and I don't know from there. Just like play a Spyglass. Kind of assume that it hits something somewhere along the lines. Just like shut off something like a Teferi as an out if I don't see anything in my opponent's hand, or just like name a common fetch land like a Misty Rainforest or something. My opening hand is reasonable. I will keep this. And I probably just like have to play the Sphere of Resistance on one. I just kind of like assume that that's necessary. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Well, I have wastes in my deck. That's the good news. Yuri and Nick Fett, huh? Spicy. Am I gonna wasteland my opponent just raw? No, I'm gonna play that Chalice now. There were some more difficult decisions if I did not see that Chalice. Like Sphere is also quite good here. Although, honestly, I might go aggro with the way this hand looks. Like Crystalline Giant, start pumping it up. Play Lodestone Golem or Karn the following turn. Yeah, I don't know. This hand is going to be a little tricky to play. There's going to be a lot of lines. Okay, my Chalice resolved after a decent pause, so my opponent may have an out to the Chalice, or they may have, like, one counterspell, and they were trying to decide whether or not, like... Oh, interesting. I mean, they're a Field of the Dead deck. This isn't overly surprising that they have some other, like, weird loam targets, right? Alright, I'll go to 17 from this attack. Oh, yeah, I have become the beatdown. I'm just gonna get this going. I'm absolutely just gonna get this going. Like, I think Sphere of Resistance plus Wasteland is also viable, but then, like, I can run into some awkwardness because of Urza's Saga. Force of Vigor would be rough. Anyway, not playing... Oh, just straight... Hey folks, if you've made it this far in the video, you're probably enjoying my content. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel if you aren't already subscribed. You know what they say, a subscriber a day keeps the mimics away. Alright, I'm too land light here for this hand. What about this one? This is a keep. It is a weird hand. So, City into Monolith, that's 3 mana. 4 mana if I play the second Monolith. So, I can't do, like, everything on turn 1. Holy shit, this hand is hard. I think I'm going to throw back 1 Monolith. I think that leaves me with the most options. I am not super sure how I am going to play this game. Like, I wish I had an Ancient Tomb. On deck, Fairy. Ancient Tomb? Shit, okay. My opponent didn't play a 1-drop. My opponent could have Swords to Plowshares. If I go all in on Crystalline Giant and it doesn't work, it's super bad for me. I am going to play this game at a slower pace than I am capable of doing, because I think if I play the City of Traders too early and then I get Wastelanded, I'm just going to die, and it's relatively likely that a Savannah deck will have Wasteland. Okay, that's a Yavimaya, so we're now starting to be more in the depths ballpark than the Wasteland ballpark. Although, like, it could just be a value Yavimaya. Feels like crop rotation. 2 mana. Okay, it is a green sun. Or an Elvish Reclaimer. Sure. Welding Jar. Alright, Welding Jar not super impactful here. I'm playing it 100% of the time, so the question is, like, what's next? Now that a Reclaimer is in play, the Chalice loses some stock. I could Tabernacle, but then I get less value out of this Urza's Saga. I could also just, like, play Crystalline Giant and hope that it gets lifelink at some point to give me an extra turn. How am I winning this game? It's not easy. Yeah, I think I'm going to give up an Urza's Saga Construct token to do this. And just get my counters going. Alright, it's Vigilant now. I'm definitely scared. I don't have the right side of the deck right now to deal with what my opponent has going on. Yeah, we talked about this earlier. That's why I didn't go all in on Crystalline Giant early. I think my opponent is going to rotate twice with Reclaimer, and then I'm going to die. Alright, I could die even sooner. So, this... yeah. That's fucking unfortunate, is what that is. Only 2 lands in my opponent's... Never mind. Just... Existence is pain. Absolute misery. I'm gonna get Wastelanded again. My opponent is gonna attack me with a 3/4 repeatedly. Although I can make... Well... Alright. Alright. Let's play. So this is going to keep my opponent from rotating, and this actually may get me to the point where I get to start playing Crucible of Worlds, and if I find my own Wastelands, this is actually pretty sick. A Crystalline Giant. That one will be backed up by a Chalice. Yeah, let's take a turn and play the Chalice first. Oh wait, there's more. I assume this one's... well... Maybe not. It could just be another wasteland. Yeah. All right. Yep. So I'm not in super bad shape. We'll see if this is still attacking. Okay, it is still attacking. That brings me down to 15. I just need to hit land drops. Well, I need to hit land drop singular, because then I can play Grim Monolith into Crucible and start replaying this shit from my graveyard. Alright, you're very protected. Protection from red was chosen. For those of you keeping track at home, I'll go down to 12. Rule. That's not what I am currently looking for. So now I have to start fearing basically immediate Merilage. That too. Yeah, I am just straight up dead next turn. So this puts me to 9. The knight alone will be lethal if my opponent rotates. That is not the land drop I'm looking for. Not that it really would have done anything anyway. I'll concede here. I would like to have Spyglass in. I might even want to play the Needle, honestly. I need Ensnaring Bridge in the sideboard. I'd kind of like to bring another Crystalline Giant in. I don't think Tangle Wire is great against what my opponent is doing. That gets these two in here. And do I want to be able to rotate for a... Or not rotate. Do I want to be able to wish for a Crucible? Or do I just want to draw it? I might just want to draw it. Do I still have good wish targets? Yes. Maybe. Yes. Oh, this feels reasonable. I think I will keep my Tabernacle in the deck as well. My opponent has Yavimaya, which turns it into a mana-producing land, which makes it better than it normally might be. Okay, how's this as an opening hand? Pretty legit. I will absolutely keep this. So, the sequencing is actually a little weird. I don't think I want to play Sphere on turn 1, because then I can't play Karn on turn 2. I think I'm actually going to go Ancient Tomb into Grim Monolith into turn 1 Crucible. And now I have that Crucible a little bit protected. There's still stuff like Prismatic Ending that is just straight up going to exile this. From experience, I know that if my opponent plays Elvish Reclaimer this turn, this hand really gets a lot worse. The Elvish Reclaimer just means that my opponent can pressure the Karn, and the Elvish Reclaimer gets bigger when I blow up my opponent's lands. Excuse me. I'm playing a fetch land there is a little awkward. Sphere now, rather than Karn? Yeah, let's do that. I overtap for that Sphere. Which is super relevant, because now I don't have the Wasteland held up for if my opponent Wastelands me. We'll see if I get punished for that. There's definitely lines that I can get punished for that. Flagstone's pretty good against Wasteland. Alright, opponent just kind of chilling. Do I want to play City and then Karn? Or do I just want to continue to develop my mana? What does it look like if I untap Grim Monolith? Next turn, I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana, which would be Karn into a 5-drop. Well, really Karn into a 4-drop because of the tax. Could be Karn into Smokestack next turn, or I could just like Karn and grab something cool this turn. Smokestack is super awkward with my opponent having a Flagstones, though. I think I just need to get this Karn into play. Alright. I don't think I want to attack with like Crucible of Worlds or anything here. I'm just going to take a card for this Karn immediately. Yes, I think I grab a Pithing Needle in the dark, not knowing like what my opponent has going on. You know what? Fuck it. For the fans. For the fans, let's grab Smokestack. Do I think that's correct? No. Would I like the donor to see a Smokestack in action at least one game in this league? Yes. Okay, sure. Okay, yeah, I mean, do your thing. This will only be a 2-drop. My opponent has tapped this mana and then done something in the middle, so they can't undo this tapping of mana. Okay, there's 3 mana for Athalia. Not a big deal. Okay, a Cloud Post. I want to grab just like Walking Ballista. Sure. Let's do that. Yes. Walking Ballista. I'll do that. Okay, order of operations. Do that. Then do this. then replay this land, sacrifice the city, pay my 5 mana, and I'm just going to ping that immediately to specifically play around Caracas. I don't really want to mess around with that particular draw. It would be a pain in the ass. Now taking my opponent off of green mana. Okay, oh, there's green mana. Okay, there's another Thalia. I am well equipped to beat Thalias. Ooh, another sphere. That's not bad. Alright, let's ping and kill the Thalia. Play a Glimmer Post. Take my life. Ooh. Right, extra mana here. I guess that means I'm doing this one. Play a sphere. I would be willing to have my other sphere Swords to Plowshare, I think. I do have to, like, end this game at some point. Okay, sure. I don't care about a Wasteland. 4 mana. This is actually a 2 mana spell. Oh, nope, just... they're done with me. That's fair. Alright, I tutored for a Smokestack. We still didn't play the Smokestack. Classic Smokestack behavior. I think I'm good with where the deck list stands for this round. I think I keep this hand. Mystic Forge is really good. Urza Saga is really good. Having 2 different really good things in a hand is pretty okay. It's not the fastest hand in the world, but hopefully I can do something cool with it. My opponent's hand is fast, though. Okay. Oh, yep, plenty happy with a Chalice of the Void on turn 1. It forces an immediate crop rotation if my opponent has one. They did not. This stops crop rotation and Reclaimer from hand. Reclaimer can still come in off a green sun. Like, that's still a very real thing that can happen. Right? Ramu Nap. That's pretty good. How much damage do I want to do to myself? Slash, do I want to put Urza Saga into play immediately? Force of Vigor fucks me up pretty bad right now. Let's play Urza Saga anyway. Then I'll play Grim Monolith to increase my artifact count. And I'll go 3-4 Mystic Forge. Do not want to draw that sphere. I'll pay a life to get that out of the way. I do want to draw that Crystalline Giant. Alright, let's see if my opponent has Wasteland and just, like, ends me immediately. If they don't, my Urza Saga is making a 4-4. Gonna be bigger than Knight, technically. Green Sun? Force of Vigor? Force of Vigor. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty good. Alright, little buddy. You know what you gotta do. You gotta rip the hexproof counter right here, okay? Alright, buddy? Hexproof counter? Trample counter. Raider. Come on. Just got a couple of things going on there. Opponent just played a Windswept Heath from hand instead of from graveyard. Is that correct? I believe that is correct. Blue? Okay, that's just a random color then. Or do you actually just have like a Teferi? Alright, it is a prismatic ending for the 3rd color. That's reasonable. See, this is why I told you needed the hexproof counter. We talked about this. Okay, that was a little lazy fetching, I think. Not that it matters. Let's play Wastes. I don't think I'm untapping Grim Monolith. I think my life is more valuable than mana. Wasteland is exceptionally good against me right now. Luckily, opponent doesn't have it. They could have any number of other things that just kind of brutalize me. I'm just going to take 3 and not untap Monolith. I don't think I want to change the number of turns of a clock this is, because 1 Ancient Tomb activation changes the clock. Sure, that's fine. Okay, yep. I would also not want to play this card if I was my opponent. This technically does something. So this makes it so that I can tap down that Dryad Arbor, and that actually changes the clock to a 4-turn clock instead of a 3-turn clock. Fuck. Oh, interesting. I thought for sure they would go after the Rishadan Port, because that opens up Dryad Arbor attacks again. Well. I guess I have to get this in play. My opponent has access to Wasteland, so I can't do Urza Saga absolute shenanigans. I'm just going to go ahead and Wasteland Dryad Arbor and save myself a point of life. Now, my opponent can just, like, wasteland my Rishadenport and then try to kill me in 3 hits with Ramunap. Like, that's very much a thing that is probably happening here. Oh, interesting. Well, I guess, like, playing another Glimmer Post is a big... Like, this lets me play the Glimmer Post from the graveyard, though. Yeah. Yeah. I can play Glimmer Post, go up to 4 life, die. Alright, we had a decent run there. GG's. Alright, I've kept my opening hand for the final round here. The big question is, how fast do I go? I think the answer is, if you can play Sphere of Resistance on turn 1, like, fuck it, do it. I believe that is correct, but there is a very real argument to just play the Cloud Post on turn 1, so that you can just try to, like, turn this into a source of mana that doesn't actually hurt you. Ooh. But a little known, anecdote that says if you can play a Sphere of Resistance on turn 1, everyone knows about that. But if you can play a second Sphere of Resistance on turn 2, oh baby. My opponent didn't have a force for that. Feels good to be me. Differing Arts of Islands. High Tide player? Alright, so Palace on 1 costs 4 mana. We're just gonna chill for a little while. So next turn I have 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. I can cast a Chalice on 1 next turn for 5 mana, or for 4 mana rather. Ooh, opponent probably has a cantrip. They do indeed. Okay, that's a combo cantrip. That's something like High Tide, or probably like a mono blue like Omniscient Show and Tell deck list or something like that. The Karn's probably pretty good. How it's good is a little unclear right now, though. Ooh, Mystic Forge. Not get distracted, though. Oh, overpaid. This is 4 mana to do this, so I need to tap exactly 4. Chalice on 1. Alright. And it resolves, because my opponent can't force a will through 2 spheres. Now we'll win at our convenience. Honestly, probably... Ooh, white mana. The force effect is live this turn. What do I want to do? I have 2 Karns. I could just, like, jam Karn one turn, jam Karn the next turn. I think I'm good with that. I'm doing a lot of damage to myself. My opponent can actually attack. It's not great for me. I've seen so little of what my opponent is doing. I am going to go ahead and just wish here. I'm going to say yes. And I am going to grab an Ensnaring Bridge here. If my opponent is Show and Tell, this is cripplingly good to just have, like, chilling in my hand. If my opponent is not Show and Tell, I think it's okay if I'm wrong, given how much bullshit I have on the board that is slowing my opponent down and stopping their ability to do stuff. Okay. Another Preordained, sure. So let's minus a Karn here. Yes. Attempt a Mycosynth Lattice. Here you are. Fine with playing a city. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, yep, just straight up did not have anything. So my opponent is on some sort of combo deck. Potentially a Show and Tell deck or a High Tide deck that is splashing white. Something like Teferi or Prismatic Ending would not be surprising from either one of those decks. A lot of my stuff that's hateful for combo is just in the main deck. I don't want to be playing my Tabernacle here. Just, like, absolutely not. And I probably don't want to be playing Welding Jar, because my opponent is very likely to either exile or bounce my artifacts. I would like to board in 2 cards. We'll just board in a Crystalline Giant as another threat, and maybe Sorcerous Spyglass just to get a better idea of what exactly my opponent is doing. I think that's reasonable. There's also a world where I could just, like, randomly board in a Witchbane Orb to try and shut off, like, Blue Sun targeting you, but it's maybe a little loose. Absolutely keeping this hand. Let's see. So if I double Grim Monolith, that's 4 mana. That does not get me to 5 on turn 1 like I might otherwise want. What are we looking at on the top of the deck? Tangle Wire. Thick. I think I'm just gonna do this. I don't know that it's worth throwing away a Grim Monolith, so to speak, in order to play around a Daze specifically. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, all signs absolutely pointing to a combo deck trying to protect itself here. Tangle Wire is probably going to look pretty good here. That's a little awkward with the fetch. Port. Okay. From Monolith into Tangle Wire? Can I do that? Yes. So Grim Monolith, number 1. Oh, we are getting movement from the opponent. They've opted to Spell Pierce. No. Now do I want to still go Turbo? I think I still want to go Turbo. I'll go City, Grim Monolith. Do I Tangle Wire, or do I just play the Giant? I think I'd rather get my threat scaling and then play Tangle Wire next turn. Maybe that's wrong. But I still don't really know what deck my opponent is playing. Like, I know they are blue-based combo, but that's all I've got right now. So I don't really just have the full information I need. So for example, if my opponent is playing High Tide, then I don't really care about not playing Tangle Wire this turn. And if my opponent is playing Show and Tell, I very much want to play the Tangle Wire this turn. You could also just be playing something wild like a Paradigm Shift combo deck or something. Regardless, without a harder lock piece in hand, I do think I need to get the show on the road. Okay, Impulse. This is leaning more towards Show and Tell now. That's, well, I guess some High Tide builds play this. Okay, just another island. And a Ponder, sure. Tangle Wire and Port. We got some stuff going on. What wonderful counter do I get this turn? Menace. I want the +1/+1 counter. If beggars can be choosers. All right, you're at 16. I will play out the Tangle Wire. And I have multiple land drops I'm going to hit. I think I just go ahead and lose this city now in order to prepare for the future. And then I'm going to have Tangle Wire tapping down my opponent's shit and Rishadan Port cleaning up anything that doesn't immediately just get tapped down. All right, we are actually seeing Tangle Wire do the thing that Tangle Wire was designed to do, which is pretty dope. All right, I have to tap down 3 things, so I'll pick these 3. Okay. Smokestack. I don't think that's ever getting in play this game. Death Touch, Menace, Reach, 3/3. Getting in there, doing some work. I think I want to show Wasteland over showing Rishadan Port. So my opponent's going to tap down 3 lands. Notably, they could do something like Impulse in their upkeep. And then just kind of like accept that all 4 of their lands are more realistically getting tapped. Seems like my opponent is being selective about which part of island they want to keep untapped. Okay, there we go. All right, so just another island. We are leaning more towards High Tide here. So my counter goes down on this, and then I have to tap 2 of my permanents. Tap you and you. Okay. Another Smokestack. I could straight up just play one, but I think holding up Rishadan Port is better. So I'm just going to go ahead and play that. Oh, I got the +1/+1 counter. Nice. I'll hit for 4. Opponent goes to 9. And now it's only 2 permanents. Okay. Absolutely. That's not going to work the way that you want. So now when this trigger resolves, you have to tap 2 more islands. I'm going to set a stop in my opponent's upkeep here in my opponent's draw step and port them again in their draw step. Just kind of ensure that nothing happens. All right, nice. So I'll Wasteland that. So this time I only need to tap the Tangle Wire itself. Let's just Wasteland this Tundra right now. If you've got a Swords to Plowshare, you're going to fire it off anyway. Tap Tangle Wire. Another Wasteland. Not super what I'm looking for. All right, it's hexproof now, so it's not going anywhere. All right, so I'll let this happen. I guess I port. There's a world where, like, if I port here, my opponent can cast a High Tide in response to it. But I haven't seen a High Tide yet. I haven't seen my opponent like cast a Namesake combo card yet. Okay. Drawn Through Dreams at 4 mana. Yeah, Drawn Through Dreams. So this is scary because I'm going to hit my opponent to 1. And then there's a very real chance that I just die. All right, what did that ponder do? That ponder shuffled, though. All right. So I lose the final counter from Tangle Wire, but it doesn't sacrifice itself this turn. So I will just kind of like tap this to... Well, I don't even have to tap it to itself. All right. I wasteland you, even though I don't think that mana's super, super relevant here. And then Rashad Porting is probably better than playing Smokestack. The opponent's got a bunch of lands that they can sacrifice. Right. Oh, lifelink is cool. Lifelink means that I don't die to a single Emrakul attack. Because I have 6 permanents. That's actually very nice. Alright, so this Tangle Wire trigger resolves. And then I'll tap an island. There's very much a world where I die here. Preordain. Preordain is not show and tell. Notably, opponent cannot fetch. They die if they fetch. Was 1 on bottom, 1 on top. That's not good for me. Brainstorm is good for me, though. Well, like, it's bad for me in that it's a Brainstorm, but it's good for me in that, like, it's not a card that is immediately killing me. All right. That's a city. That's a show and tell. I will put in a Smokestack. It increases my permanent count for if my opponent has an Emrakul. Okay, there's an Emrakul. I'm at 18 because this hit lifelink. I'm not dead to this. I am dead to a Grizzlebrand or something afterwards, though. Opponent knows what their next cards are. They've brainstormed already. Oh, well, all these trigger with 0 counters here. All right. Do your attack. I'll take 15. I will annihilate 6. So let's go 1, 2, 3. Leave myself with Cloud Post. I don't think it matters too much. Yeah, I'll leave myself with Cloud Post as my other permanent. Like, I can lose to a second Emrakul here. I go to 3 from this. You have it? Not yet. So if my opponent didn't have it yet, they were not supposed to attack with the Emrakul, because Emrakul can't hold back this with Menace. Drawn Through Dreams is pretty likely to find something that beats me, though. What the hell is this? You may reveal an Eldrazi card you own from outside the game, or choose a face-up Eldrazi card you own in exile. Neat. Yeah. That's not great for me. All right, so despite the fact that I took that game to turn 10 and put my opponent to 1, I never drew like a hard lockout piece of any nature. Okay, so now I have confirmed that my opponent is playing Show and Tell. Seems like it's slightly off the norm version. Never seen that tutor before. It's pretty neat. I want to be able to tutor for that Ensnaring Bridge. Yeah, I don't think I have too much of an ability to change what I'm doing here. Opponent has a lot of basics. My Crucibles are kind of whatever. My Pithing Needle effects aren't going to shut off something like a Sneak Attack here. I think I'm just going to resubmit what I have and hope to draw a little better. This is 4 mana on turn. Well, this is 2 mana followed by 4 mana. I'm absolutely going to keep this. One has taken a mulligan. And I'll go land go. Got a turn 2 Chalice. It'll be vulnerable to like Spell Pierce and Daze type cards, but, you know, can't have it all. Can't always just turn 1 Chalice on the play. And that was a pretty quick shuffle with that Ponder. Ooh. Sphere? Sphere better than Chalice? Question mark, question mark, question mark. They do different things. I am going to hope that my opponent does not specifically have Soul Land, Show and Tell, plus Omniscience Emrakul. I'm hoping that my opponent doesn't have that series of 5 cards, because the Chalice shuts off a lot of ways to actually dig towards the Show and Tell. Okay, sure. Take your land. So I have 2, 4, 6 mana, 7 with a Grim Monolith. Let's get disruptive. So I'm going to play a Lodestone Golem here. And this makes non-artifact spells cost more. So I can play my Sphere of Resistance afterwards. So now, most spells my opponent are going to cast either get countered by Chalice of the Void or cost 2 more. Yeah, there we go. And there is our 3-2 in this league. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Honestly, I'm super happy that we put up a 3-2. And this league also went very fast, which is not something that I was expecting. But I suppose that means that we either won or lost very quickly, so take that for what you will. Ultimately, in 5 rounds of Magic, I do not believe I put a single counter on a Smokestack. And I believe that I boarded out my Tangle Wires in most of my rounds. Not all of my rounds, but most of my rounds. I feel like the core of this deck list has gotten power creeped out of Legacy, unfortunately. We definitely put the hurt on some of our opponents, but I do feel like, honestly, I was lucky to get some of the wins that I did. Like, I won a game against Oops on the draw because my opponent mulliganed into Oblivion. And there were a couple other times where like I needed my opponent to miss, and they did. And we also got a couple of early concessions from some of our opponents, I think, because maybe they were frustrated with what I was doing. If I were trying to approve this deck list, what would I do? I almost feel like I need another Urza Saga tutor target. I was only running 3 Urza Saga, but I kind of just ran out of stuff to get. They're like 1 Mox or something of that nature would probably be pretty reasonable just to like get another target. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a Mox Diamond or what, or like a Mox Opal. Probably supposed to be a Mox Diamond, but like then it's not always good, whereas like Mox Opal like always at least contributes to the artifact count no matter what. Oddly, the sideboarding felt fine. I didn't have a lot of flexibility and options, but I was usually able to take out like the Tangle Wires or the Tabernacle or the Welding Jar, like whatever didn't feel good, and fill it with something. The Karn package was pretty wide. I didn't use any of the super fringe stuff, I don't think. Like I usually fetched up like, I think like Bridge and Crucible, Liquid Metal Coating, and Mycosynth Lattice, but I didn't mind having some of the other options. Like grabbing the Walking Ballista versus the pair of Thalias that I saw was really, really useful. So I don't think this one hit it out of the park, but like I'm very happy with the results that we got with it. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Those sorts of things help me out a whole lot. Have a great rest of the day, and if you want to mess around with it, it's available in the video description as my donation deck list if you have something spicy you want to get on the channel. See ya! Have a great rest of the day!